The rejection of Jesus at Nazareth. He came to his hometown and began to teach the people in their synagogue. So they were astounded and said, "Where did this man get this wisdom and these deeds of power? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? Are not his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And all and are not all his sisters with us? Where did this man get all this?" And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honor, except in their own hometown and in their own house." And he did not do many deeds of power there because of their unbelief. This is
Interesting.
it is interesting, but I do think there is a point there where it is very difficult to go back to some place where you've been like where people have seen all of your flaws and
Mm.
seen you grow up and see you be like this, you know, uh, crazy person, or not crazy person, but young person,
Yeah.
out there, and then for them to like accept you as this later on as this
Mm.
great and powerful figure, because to them you
Mm.
still have that image of that goofy or that
Mm.
person who messed up or whatever,
Mm.
the carpenter's son. And beyond, just um the biblical underpinnings of that. I think, you know, a lot of times you have people who, when they grow up in the same place, uh, when they've lived in the same place for their whole life, or if they go to the same school for their whole life,
Mm.
um, they almost feel like they're trapped into the thing that they were, in the beginning, or that
Mm.
that initial impression that um, people had of them, because uh, the other people in these places are just unwilling to see that new person.
Mm.
And I think that's why a lot of times you have people, like I said, who are in the same place for the whole life, especially from when they were young um and immature, or whatnot, or not fully adult life. They find like they need to go someplace else to
Mm.
start a new life, and um, that's where they kind of, I don't know,
Mm.
make a name for themselves, so to speak. Um, I just thought that besides it there being like a biblical point there, it is interesting to think about um, people who maybe not had, let's just say, have had better days than their early
Mm.
life or childhood.
Peaked in high school vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Who maybe feel like uh, they can't be seen as anything else
Mm.
besides that
Mm.
in their hometown or
Mm. Well,
home school.
yeah, I got the same thing. It's so interesting that this is like the negative reaction you get from your your hometown, which is supposed to represent like the wider community you're part
Mm,
of, and it's like the extension of your family, right?
mm,
And it's so interesting that the positive reaction would be, this person. Oh, he's from our town. You want him
mm,
to be from your town. This is a
yeah,
great person. But the negative reaction that he receives is from envy, right?
mm,
It's how come he gets all this thing
yeah.
when he started where we started,
Mm.
right? So the
But it's also like, this guy, really? Like, whose brothers are right here and whose
yeah,
sisters are right here and whose
yeah.
father was a
Carpenter, yeah.
carpenter's son?
For me, that line is quite sad, where he says, "Only in his hometown and in his own house is a prophet without honor."
Mm,
It's just such a striking line,
yeah.
because here he's saying, at least the way I see it, is everywhere I go, people were l- acknowledging, at least,
Mm,
either in rebuking me or in listening to me. In both
mm,
ways, they're acknowledging that I'm
mm,
significant, and so I'm saying I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing
mm,
good things with my life,
mm,
and now I've come back here to the place which should be
yeah.
the most I don't know, accepting of me,
Mm,
and it's actually the opposite. It's it's
mm.
it's the only place where the prophet will not have honor.
Yeah. It's It is very interesting, and I'll just like say, like, so I went to the same high school, like, for K through 12, which is like
Mm.
13 years. So that's one of the reasons I was like you did like have this like initial image that was kind of like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
put on you in the
Mm,
beginning, like even when you were like 5 and 6, right?
mm,
That like carries
mm,
uh with you into like
mm,
17, 18 for a
mm,
lot of people. And so it's like I need to get out of this place, right? I need to go. But I have my 5-year reunion coming up,
my goodness, yeah.
and I'm
Sounds
like, oh crap. Like this is gonna be like part of I do have this like fear that I'm gonna go back and it's just gonna be like all of the previous like hierarchies and
yeah,
and
flip,
like
yeah.
norms are just gonna
It'd be so awkward.
yeah, exactly,
Oh,
right? I have that like you know, I'm gonna to everybody, I'm just gonna be the same person I was when I was like 5,
yeah,
6,
makes them feel better.
7. So not looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
What I find about this, if I right, if I jump in, is this passage kind of really kind of contrasts and juxtaposes both Christ's humanity and divinity because they're like you're so and so's brother and we know your mother is here. So it's like saying Jesus is certainly a human, like he is of human flesh. At the same time, he's like a prophet or someone who's godly and not of this world because he's just rejected by the place that makes him human, that makes him the most kind of normal person, yet he's Mm, rejected by them because he is so different from them. He's doing miracles, he's preaching, he's wise, and he refers to himself as a prophet. Someone who's of God. So we've got this lovely juxtaposition of Christ, the human, and also Christ, the Son of God. The incarnate God. And so it's like a very clever passage if you kind of just look at purely
Yeah.
theologically. It's also a very sad passage because we also see it was in the previous chapter how his mother and family. Sorry, it's in chapter end of chapter 12 where it talks about Jesus talking about his family and his mother's there. It's like these aren't my family anymore. The family is my
Yeah.
followers, those who follow my sort of teaching. And you think it's quite profound.
Well, and also going back to like when we were talking about people who are unable to clear their state and have
Mm,
a blank state, it's very clear here that the people in his hometown are unwilling to um, have a blank state when it comes to who Jesus is
yeah.
and what he can do or
Mm,
what he's done.
mm-hmm,
They very much retain that same image that they've
mm,
had since the beginning, and that's back to the Pharisees who are unwilling to
mm,
um, break with the tradition and old laws about not curing people on
mm-hmm,
Sabbath or not eating
mm-hmm.
on Sabbath, etc. So you can see parallels there between the two passages.
Yeah, I completely did not catch the thing that you said, which I found. Yeah, that is exactly that's a very interesting way of reading it. It's this is the humanity side rejecting him Mm, because of their vices. So
Mhm.
is like a microcosm of the whole picture of humanity rejecting
Mm.
God because of their vices, or because at least here I interpret this as envy, right, coming through with
Yeah.
people. That's the main problem they have with him. I think the last line is interesting as well. He doesn't perform miracles there because they lack faith.
Mhm.
And again, I think faith is this sort of idea of it's sort of like the way he sort of used it up until now when he talks about this lack of faith is that you're not open to this idea, and there's sort
Mm.
of like a predisposition. There's not only a predisposed view that you have, but
Mm.
also you're kind of using these examples
Mm.
for worse purposes. Like sometimes you can use a good deed for a worse purpose.
Mm.
So it reminds me of when the Pharisees like came to him that we read before, where they
Mm.
asked like, "Come on, show us a deed." Clearly, they had something in mind if something actually happened
Yeah.
because we saw that they did see some deeds. Right? It's not like they haven't seen
Mm.
anything. I think the man with the shriveled hand, for example, right?
Mm.
That's when they saw and decided that they were gonna plot against
Yep.
him.
And they call him a king of demons, don't they? And is it in this chapter as well, or in the
Hmm.
last chapter? Because he exercises someone, and they go, "Oh, the only way that could happen is,
Exactly.
And so when
So
he
they're
does do a
waiting for
sign,
it.
and yeah, when they do it, they just use it as evidence against him. And so either it's like again casting pearls amongst swine in the sense that he's going to do a miracle, and they just either going to ignore it, put it to the side, or as you said, even worse is they use it as accusation for something that he's not, and so
And not only that, but that would cheapen the worth of the miracle.
mm,
Because now it's something that it's something we can ignore, it's something we can
yeah,
neglect
yeah,
because we caused it.
yeah,
It's almost like we were involved in the cause of the miracle. It's
mm,
like because we prompted you to do it, and
yeah,
you, like any
silly human, right? You went ahead and did it,
Yeah.
but it's like, no, the game is not this, right? So
It's true.
Hey there, if you like this video, please remember to hit the subscribe and like button if you want to support us and to stay up to date on all our latest videos, which we release daily. And if you want to be a guest on this show, you can find our contact page in the description. Thank you.